around the world. This is The Food Show with Andrew Coppolino on 570 News.
And welcome to The Food Show once again, another lovely Sunday afternoon, and I'm so happy that you're able to join us here today. We've got a very special guest in the house, and I want to get to introducing him right away. He's one of North America's most creative, dynamic, and engaging conductors. Edwin Outwater has been the music director of the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony since 2007. My, time flies. Now in his fifth season, he has revitalized the orchestra and gained international attention for his innovative projects and brilliant performances. Welcome, Edwin Outwater.
Thanks, Andrew.
What a great occasion to have you here. I know that you're I guess I sort of see you as a sort of a Renaissance man. I mean, you know music, you know food, you know English literature, and so I'm hoping we can maybe find a way to blend all of those things together on the show. It's great to have you here.
Let's try. Yeah, no, it's great.
Let's try throwing down the gauntlet.
Yeah, I love food, so I'm absolutely. I love being on this show. I can't wait to talk about food for an hour.
But I want to
awesome.
stop. I want to stop just for a moment though and say, like, how does a guy get to be a conductor? It's like to me, there's a couple of jobs that are dream jobs for me. I have no musical talent, by the way, but a couple of dream jobs I have is I'd love to be play for the Italian national soccer team. I'd love to be a rock and roll drummer. I'd love to be a secret agent, and I think I'd love to be a conductor. I think that's just such a cool job. How did you come into this?
Well, you know, I came kind of out of the orchestra. I was playing bass, and in high school I was in a really good orchestra and kind of a summer orchestra, and saw other conductors being taught how to conduct. And I thought, oh, that's how you do it. I never even thought about it. And in college, I conducted an orchestra, and I won a bunch of auditions, you know, for assistant conductor positions in the United States, and ending with a pretty major appointment to San Francisco Symphony as assistant. And that kind of put me on the map and was sought out, you know, to guest conduct in other places, and became part of the search for this orchestra. And came here and have been having a great time ever since. But it's a weird thing, right? You can't just, you know, call people and, you know, have an orchestra come to your house and work on things. You have to kind of be invited to conduct, and so it's that early experience is kind of funny. Everyone does it in different ways. It was for me in college, having that experience conducting this orchestra at Harvard, which was a student-conducted orchestra that's kind of famous, and other kind of people had done it, so it kind of had some cachet and helped me kind of move on to the next step. But it is weird. To start is maybe the hardest thing.
I bet. You travel the world though too, don't you? I mean, you're not just settled in Waterloo region. You have other performance director conducting positions that you also lead.
Yeah, I do more concerts in the Waterloo region than anywhere else, but I'm basically, it's describing my life. You know, people want to know how much I travel, and it's easier for me to say. Usually I'm never in one place for more than 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then I'm off. Sometimes a lot in North America. Last year was great. I was in Europe a couple times, Australia twice, Japan. That was a really good food trip.
I bet.
As you can imagine. And, you know, sometimes if I'm in Australia, I'll sneak in a trip to Thailand or Bali, you know, to kind of eat. Did you have, like, obviously being exposed to new places and being able to go to places like Japan or Australia or wherever you've gone, you know, you get exposed by, you have no choice, you're a captive audience to be exposed to the food cultures. But when you were a kid, was there a food moment that you had that sort of said to you, wow, you know, this is something that I'm really interested in? Not necessarily that you were going to be a cook or anything like that, but were there moments with your family or a particular summer that you did some kind of cooking that really got you sort of hot about food? I think Japanese food, actually. When I was little, my parents were really good at taking us out to other restaurants, and they had a pretty good, you know, when we were little kids, and I have 3 brothers or 4 boys, and you know, so it was a big effort to get us out. They were very cool about it, and I remember just going to a Japanese restaurant and seeing, you know, eating a food that was completely different, you know, than what I was used to eating, and loving it. You know, utensils were different, the experience was different, and it just kind of clued me in that there's a huge variety, you know, of food out there, and got me very, you know, I'm kind of a curious person anyway about everything, and so I just it made me kind of a food explorer from a very early age.
A food explorer.
Yeah, I just wanted to try new things, and so I think it was that first, like, Japanese. I remember that, you know, where it was, you know, it was pretty kind of mind-blowing.
Your origins are in the southern United States, in Los Angeles. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
I grew up in Santa Monica.
And so that would expose you to, I guess, a lot of Eastern cuisine. I mean, there's a sort of a great Japanese.
Yeah, LA is still amazing for that kind of thing. There's an incredible kind of mix of people there, obviously, but there are in Toronto too. So, but it's like, I guess it's kind of the Latino thing is pretty strong in LA as well. So I think LA is pretty cool. You get the Asian stuff, the Latin American stuff. You get a lot of Middle Eastern stuff. It's pretty available. So, and as a musician, you meet. I think in high school, there's so many Asian American musicians, and at least in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
My youth orchestra in San Francisco is probably at least half Asian American. And
do you get back there much?
Yeah. And so
you dip into the food culture there probably every time you're there.
But I go with my friends, in high school to great Korean places and Chinese places, kind of really not in the normal towns that I was used to. It was
that
really fun.
The Korean cooking has sort of picked up. I know that in Toronto there's 5 or 6 now really, really good Korean restaurants that are sort of verging into the mainstream of some of the best dining that's there. We do have a couple of Korean places in Kitchener, but they're usually, or Waterloo region, but they're usually sort of Japanese and Korean.
Right.
It's often a Korean family that's running it, even though the forefront is Japanese.
I
love Korean food.
Oh yeah. I mean. I think LA, my Korean friends tell me it's at least as good as what you find in Korea, and if not better. A lot of people prefer it. Yeah. And obviously you start with Korean barbecue, which is the great kind of grill at your table, and all the wonderful appetizers and the fermented cabbage, kimchi, which I happen to really like. Cuts through all that. If you're eating like a pound of beef,
that's
really good.
I love that it's usually cool, but it's also got that little bit of hot spice to it, so that blending of fire.
Yeah, my friends used to their parents used to ferment it in their garden underground. They have pots underground. And it's pretty.
That's the traditional way of doing it. I've never actually heard of anybody doing it. Obviously the stuff that you're buying around here is commercial, but it's neat to know that people are still doing that in a time-honored way.
So a big Korean feast is always totally fun.
Well, you're listening to The Food Show on 570 News. I'm Andrew Coppolino. Now, with me is Edwin Outwater. He's the music director of the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony. And if you're interested, or if you're able, you can also view the shenanigans here in the studio on 570news.com and go to the webcast button there, and you can click on and see what's happening here right now in the studio as it's on the internet. Do you have a favorite food, Edwin? Is there one particular food that you go back to as a sort of your go-to snack or dinner?
Favorite cuisines, we talked about this. I probably could eat only Italian and Japanese food for the rest of my life and be happy. Because it's just about the really natural, not too much sauce, just really beautiful kind of essential ingredients kind of made beautiful. But kind of foods that I'm obsessed with are peanut butter. I'm like one of those people who loves peanut butter. Yeah. And in fact, I've learned that if you're going to Canadian peanut butter versus, like, for instance, Skippy peanut butter in Canada is sweeter and grainier than American Skippy, and it also has a squirrel on the front, which we don't have down south. Yeah, and I don't really care for the Canadian Skippy as much, but And I like avocados. Those are kind of my food things.
Well, I love avocados too. They're just a little bit hard to get. Yeah, there's a little bit hard to get, aren't they?
I guess as a Californian,
for you though, they're probably growing in your backyard when you're down in Santa Monica.
We had oranges.
Oranges too, yeah.
And pomegranates.
For the peanut butter, do you grind your own peanut butter ever, or do you look for you don't mind the commercial stuff? Just that sort of creaminess?
It's kind of the childhood memories. I do like really natural, good peanut butter. I tried some peanut butter last week in Michigan called Cream Nut, which is like Spanish peanuts or something.
Spanish peanuts.
But I found something good at Vincenzo's, very expensive, called Peanut Butter and Company, which I think is a store in New York that is only peanut butter.
Wow,
and
that's
sells
a specialized
peanut butter.
shop.
Yeah, it's like I remember it opened up in New York, and it was pretty good. I liked it, and they have like spicy peanut butter. I just looked at it.
That is interesting.
Yeah, so I got their kind of standard one. I was into it.
I guess it's unfortunate that peanut butter has taken on a sort of a danger food component, doesn't it? I mean, in schools and that it's restricted, and there's all that unfortunate stuff with people being highly allergic to it, and that's too bad.
I'm slightly allergic to it.
Are you really?
I eat it anyway.
Well, I don't think that's such a good one. Well, Edwin, that can grow into more serious luxurious things. You know? I mean, my father-in-law ate what are the Red Jacket peanuts? The ones in the Red Jackets. He loved those, and he ate those. He's been eating them his whole life, but he's in his 70s now or whatever, and he's found that he's developed an intolerance to them over the decades. So be careful, please. Right. I don't want to see anything bad happen to you. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Sometimes it's the things that you love.
I know that does happen. Yeah. I don't know. I've noticed this garlic allergy that I've developed. That I find that if I eat too much garlic, it actually makes me a little bit nauseous over the course of an evening.
I think garlic is. Now here's something we can talk about. I mean, garlic is a crutch for many cooks.
Oh, wow.
And I think garlic is often overused.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's a wonderful flavor, and it's just. When I taste too much garlic, I mean, sometimes you want that, but a lot of times it's.
Well, here's what. Yeah,
I'm not obsessed with.
I think I agree with you. I mean, I think what they do is they equate the power of garlic with the essence of the dish, which I think of it as a base. A base flavor that starts off with the aromatics, like the celery, the onion, maybe a little bit of carrot or something as a base flavoring, and then to that is added the main components, whether it's in a tomato sauce or whatever. What I've asked restaurants to do when I've gone out is not to add that. If they've already got a base flavoring of garlic in their sauces, I ask them at the last minute that they don't throw in that handful of that tablespoon of garlic that some places throw in and mix it around.
You're one of those customers.
I'm one of those customers. Yeah.
You're like a Hollywood producer.
Am I?
Kind
Is that
ordering changing everything?
Yeah, and I don't want the brown M&Ms in my. Well, you know what we're going to do here, Edwin? We're going to have to take a quick break. But when we come back, let's talk a little bit about food and music, and we'll also maybe have a sampling of some music that you can discourse on a little bit and give us some idea of what's happening in the piece, and get a little bit more insight into the relationship between food and music. My guest, of course, is Edwin Outwater. He is the music director of the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony, and you're listening to The Food Show. This is 570 News.
This is The Food Show with Andrew Coppolino on 570 News.
And we are back again, and in the background, we're listening to Tea for Two.
That's right.
By, we said, Yeomans?
Yeah, Yeomans, I think, wrote it.
Yeah, and this is a performance by
Shostakovich orchestrated it on a dare. I think a friend of his, they bet, who could write an orchestration of Tea for Two faster, and he did this in, I think, 45 minutes or something.
Seriously?
He wrote all the parts out. Yeah. Here comes the big tune.
Okay.
Yeah.
45 minutes now.
He just whipped it off.
Can you give me some idea of how difficult that would be, or say compare it to
very
something else?
Difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not to put too fine a point on it.
Yeah. Muy difficult. Well, Shostakovich, and what's really always funny about this is that, Shostakovich is known as one of the most depressing of all composers.
Okay.
And he really was, had a terrifying life. He lived in Stalinist Russia and was very famous, and if he wrote the wrong piece, he would be sent to the gulag, basically. He managed not to do that, but this is a young Shostakovich. He had an amazing sense of humor, and you find a lot of that in his early music. It's wicked and naughty,
and yet it's such a lovely and innocent piece.
Yeah. So things change.
Yeah. And it's ubiquitous, though, isn't it? Doesn't everybody know this? Everyone sings it. I think it's probably been in both.
I even knew it. Yeah. I mean, it's an old tune, but we all know it growing up, I guess. But here's this pretty silly cartoon.
It does.
Music.
Exactly.
Maybe we learned it in Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can just sort of visualize sort of a silent movie, whether it's Buster Keaton or someone trying to do something.
Exactly.
In a restaurant or something, trying to eat some. It's a lovely little piece. Now I have with me here some chestnuts, and I don't know if people are realizing, but this is chestnut season right now. From about September, November, all the way through.
They're roasting
February.
on an open fire.
Roasting on an open fire.
Here, you know the song, of course.
Well, of course I do, but I don't know it like you.
Chestnuts roasting on an open, so forth.
Yeah.
Written by Mel Torme.
Now I didn't
know that. The singer, he
wrote
it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't just sing it; he wrote it. I think Nat King Cole is probably the most famous.
Right, famous.
But it was written by Mel.
And it really does. They really do sort of connote to me winter. But you said you don't have chestnuts in your because you're a warm weather climate, even though these are probably California. These might be California.
Maybe they're grown. I mean, you certainly don't go outside and hear, it's not cold. If it's not cold enough, that smell of chestnuts doesn't really work.
Doesn't work.
In LA, it never really got there.
Well, we've got some that I bought at a local grocery store, and the lady told me a really interesting story. I was picking through the chestnuts trying to find good ones, and I said, "What do you think are the good ones here?" And she said, "Well, first of all, they should be a little bit shiny. They should be fairly heavy for their size, and they should be nice and firm." And she told a really interesting story. Growing up in Holland, they used to roast chestnuts, and they used to put them in a little bag and put them in their beds at night when it was really cold.
Oh.
Yeah, cool, to warm up. And then they would also do the same thing in the morning. She'd put them in her coat pockets and march off to school, and then have her hands.
So they retain heat.
So they retain heat and really well, and she used them as a heating instrument, which I thought
and
was
they smell nice.
Fabulous. Yeah, they do.
I do love the smell of chestnuts, and I'm sorry I missed them when I was a kid, because I'm sure I would love them even more.
Yeah,
you know?
If there was a memory there, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I kind of like these because they have a sort of a sweetish,
they're really
sweetish
sweet.
kind of flesh, don't they?
Yeah.
And these aren't warm because I heated these early. Earlier this morning. I put them in the oven. If Greg, our camera guy, can show, I've got a red device there that's like a pair of scissors almost, and you put the chestnut in this little device and you crush it, and it puts a slit in the middle, which opens up the flesh a bit, or the skin, and then they won't explode in the oven.
You do it before roasting.
Yeah, you have to poke them with a knife, or I use one of these fancy
device.
A device, chestnut device, and then 20 minutes or so. And they're fine. You open them up, let them cool, pull them out of the oven, let them cool a bit, and then you rip apart the sort of it's a leathery, crisp flesh. Open them up, and you get this wonderful thing.
They're amazing.
Yeah. What do you think of the food scene here in KW,
Waterloo
region?
It's improved dramatically in the 5 years that I've been here. I think there's so many places. This week I discovered 2 new places. This new restaurant on Ontario Street in downtown Kitchener, Marisol. Stopped in for a drink. And some appetizers after a meeting this week, and had a great time. Beautiful room,
nice restaurant,
great
isn't it?
atmosphere, yeah. And I'm I can't wait to come back for dinner there pretty soon.
Yeah, try the octopus. They do it well.
Oh yeah, I love grilled octopus.
Yeah. Now you must remember when it was Classicos, and they did the same kind of Portuguese-based cooking. I think they're doing the same thing there with Mediterranean cuisine.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems very simple and good recipes, which I like I said, I really like very simple preparations.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're going for. Now that's the thing that it strikes me. If you take the southern part of France out of the Mediterranean equation, Italy, Spain, Portugal, I think all of those cuisines, to my mind anyway, are simple. There's 5 ingredients on the plate, and that's it. So it's not like heavy sauces usually and things like that. Yeah. And another one did you discover?
You probably know about this, listeners, but I don't know. It's just been a few weeks, I think, in Uptown Waterloo, the German bakery that just opened up, just down the little,
You're quite impressed with the bread.
I thought it was amazing. Yeah, it's real German baking. It's that kind of thick, heavy bread you want to, put a little mustard and cold cuts on, that German breakfast bread. But they also have other things, and just it's a very elegant bakery as well, and was pretty busy and lively when I was there. And
was it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it's picking up. That's good.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed. I've been eating this sunflower bread all week, and it's been keeping really well, and I tried putting peanut butter on it because I love peanut butter, as I said, but the bread was too good, so I just put a little bit of sweet butter on the top, and that's it.
Tell me a little bit about, we've got some tickets. I'm going to note right now that in the next segment we're going to ask for callers to call in to win tickets. It's for, you have to help me with the pronunciation here, Basha Bulat.
Yeah.
And she's a singer-songwriter?
Yeah.
And you're conducting?
Yeah, she's an amazing singer-songwriter out of Toronto. She sings really beautiful original songs that are folk-influenced. She plays the auto harp.
Oh, cool.
She's super cool, and she has an amazing orchestrations of her songs that were done by Owen Pallett, who's a major figure in indie rock, a Canadian singer-songwriter who can write full orchestra pieces for himself and sometimes does it for his friends. Bosch is one of his friends. So it's a very rich, lovely kind of folk-based concert at the Conrad Center. It's part of our Intersection series, which is where we did our music and food concert. We did Beethoven in Your Brain. It's our kind of our orchestra is getting really well known for these kind of hybrid projects. We're collaborating with the Institute for Quantum Computing this year to do a concert about quantum physics and music. And so it's kind of our lab series, and it's in this wonderful intimate space. I don't think we can have more than 300
It's nice
people
when
in
you get that sort of multidisciplinary effect
Yeah, because everything connects to everything else. I always felt that, and sometimes you can connect things very tenuously, and it doesn't make any sense. But I find most of the time, if you really try, there are really elegant connections that you can make with music and other things. And like everything has music to it,
yes.
in a sense.
If music be the food of love, play on.
Yes, and so it's a great show. You'll love it.
November 10th is the date, and we're going to give away 2 tickets in the next hour. Listen for the phone and the phone numbers, and then you can call in. We'll take, say, the 8th caller in to win those tickets, but we'll give you the cue for that. Edwin, you travel a lot, and you obviously have to marshal your time very carefully. Do you get a chance to cook? Do you ever get a chance to cook?
I do. Yeah, I love to cook, and I think in recent years I've been trying to really push myself, cooking different kinds of food and not just the things that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Or I used to cook a lot of just very simple, really kind of straightforward Italian kind of type dishes, and now I'm kind of exploring more Asian flavors and using some nice cookbooks as guides, but also
breaking out on your own.
Yeah, exactly, and it's fun. It's one of my favorite things to do because, basically I'm a thinker. I have to think about things a lot and ponder things, and cooking, just slicing, dicing an onion is I love it.
Yeah, and I think in your world, technique is everything, isn't it? It's the technique of the musicians, it's the technique of the composer, it's the technique of the
technique
conductor.
Is important.
Yeah, and I think if I think about I'll tell you something, my life is pretty scattered, and my day-to-day business is very ramshackle and sort of haphazard, but when I go into the kitchen, and maybe you'll agree with me, I like to get all the ingredients lined up properly, mise en place, and I like to get everything sort of properly laid out, and I guess that's much like what you see in front of you when you step onto the podium and look out at
I like that too.
Orchestra,
in fact,
sort of ordering of the piece of music.
Yeah, if I'm cooking, I like to cook on a day off, often. And if I'm really going to cook, and I have like an afternoon phase where I do all the prep.
Yeah.
And so when it gets, so they're really separated, like getting everything in place, and then I find, especially when you have company, that's by far the best way, because you're kind of all set to go.
You want to have it ready so you can spend some time with your guests, of course.
Yeah, there's a great chef in Chicago called Stephanie Izard, and she's kind of one of my dream chefs these days. She's just, and I hate like fusion per se,
Right.
I find it's kind of a weak, but somehow she does it really well and makes crazy kind of ingredient combinations work. She must just try and fail a lot, and but really pretty an amazing palate. And I cooked a nice it was pear, parsnip, and pistachio soup that she recommended. It was just very basic soup.
And nice and fall.
Creamy a little bit. And then a seared halibut with this kind of pork ragu, Asian pork ragu that you might find in like green beans in a Chinese dish.
Sure.
And a kind of green cilantro vinaigrette on top of it. But it was this halibut on this kind of pork thing with this tamarind flavor and peanut flavor. It's pretty interesting.
We were visiting Pho Dobao. I'm trying to get the pronunciation there now. PHO, but it's
pronounced
Pho.
Yeah.
And you had a dish, but you're concerned about before you perform or rehearse or whatever. You've got to watch what you eat, like an athlete, I guess. You don't want to have a big heavy meal there, so you have to be selective about getting ready before a conference. What do you do before a musical performance?
Before a concert, I usually have a really big meal.
Oh, dear.
Like at like 4 o'clock.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then, because I'm pretty dormant before a concert.
Dormant.
No, I really, it's weird. It's not, it's physically demanding, I suppose, but it's concentration, and most soloists and singers and conductors I know really rest, in the afternoon before a concert.
Right.
In all musicians, it's a concentrated kind of thing. And so it's a time for me to relax.
You must need some energy. You must need some, because
you've
got to move around up there and focus on physically and mentally at the same time.
Yeah, if you eat too late though, it's kind of you feel heavy.
Bog you down.
Yeah, so I usually like a nice pasta or something like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then just kind of
that takes you into the performance.
Then unfortunately after a concert I get really hungry.
Yeah.
Which is really bad.
Because it's late at night.
Indeed. Yeah. So I try to limit. And the
hazard of the job.
I'm basically I like wine a lot. I'm a wine drinker, but I think after a concert, often a cold beer is my favorite thing.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Not that I've conducted many concerts, but
after some kind of work, you have good instincts.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a brief break. Let's pick up Mr. Carey there in our operations department. Let's pick up another tune, and we'll bring that. I'll start coming back with that. when we come back from the break. We do have to take a little break, but don't go away because there's a lot more on the food show. Edwin Outwater is here with me from the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony. He's the music director, and we're going to be talking about our restaurant experiences with a little Thai cuisine and Vietnamese Thai, and we'll talk a little bit about that experience right after this. You're listening to 570 News.
We all have to eat. You might as well find out where the best food is. From restaurant reviews to the fun of food from around the region to around the world. This is The Food Show with Andrew Coppolino on 570 News.
And welcome back once again. This is The Food Show, our third segment. Now, in the background, we've got a little Tale of the Oyster playing. We're going to talk to Edwin Outwater about that just in a minute. And I want to call out to anybody, the eighth caller who calls in with their call at 519-570-2545 or star 570 on your cell will win the concert tickets to the Conrad Center and Basha Bulat. Yeah, and Edwin, of course, conducting on November 10th. So that's the eighth caller at 519-570-2545 or star 570 on your cell. And we can bring that music back up now, Mr. Carey. And then we hear here the Tale of the Oyster. Edwin, over to you.
Yeah, Cole Porter song. I actually orchestrated it for our music and food concert.
Anne Hogan is the mezzo-soprano.
Very silly song. It's about an oyster that wants to be a part of high society and is decides to be eaten by a very rich lady. And on a yacht, the lady gets seasick and barfs the oyster back up. And the oyster at the end says, "I've had a taste of society, and society has had a taste of me." Okay. Yes. So
sociologically, it's
a class struggle. Yes, it's a very wonderful.
And Cole Porter would have had a sort of a less than favorable.
He just has a very sharp wit. So it's a cute little song. Not one of his best.
No, you don't think so?
No, but the words are good. Yeah.
I hadn't realized it had.
It's fun. It's like a comedy.
Deep sort of connection with the alimentary canal of human beings.
He didn't go to the erotic oyster way.
No, he didn't. Okay. Interesting. Do you find that with conductors or performers and musicians and I guess writers that there is this sort of personalities come out very definitely and where they sort of land on the sociological spectrum or the class?
Not really. I don't know if they're interested in that. Yeah. If they're not, then they don't. There are all sorts of other. Some artists are political, some are less political and kind of dreamy, and it kind of runs the gamut.
Like everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we run the gamut a bit here. We're going to move from oysters down to the lowly shrimp, the sort of insect of the sea, because you and I enjoyed a meal at Pho de Bao.
Pho da Bo.
I asked them, and they tried to ask me to pronounce that b, like bao, not bao b. They wanted that shorter.
Pho da bo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a schwa.
Exactly. Yeah, the schwa. Yeah, for linguistics. Very good. Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, one of your favorite places?
Well, when I first came to Kitchener late at night, snowy. It was very snowy. I'd never been. It was being driven up King Street and wondering where I was going. Where am I? And I drove by a nice Asian market and saw a pho place. And I said, okay, this is good. At least I have somewhere to eat. And, because it's for me, it's if I'm traveling and the only choice is like TGI Fridays, I find it kind of dreadful.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, good. There's an Asian place. I can get some food I like nearby. So that was maybe the first meal I ever ate in KW, if I'm not mistaken, one of the very first. Mm-hmm. I just walked in there, and you never know if as with a lot of places, Asian places, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. You just don't know. Yeah. And you can't tell by how they look. You can tell by maybe how many people are there. And certain vibe. But sometimes you can go to a place where a lot of people are eating, and it's also bad.
It is always a bit of a
This place was good.
So, yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a kind of a chain. There are 11. It's the one across from the market, Kitchener Market, that's down the stairs.
301 King Street East, and it's got the smiling, happy face cow.
Yeah, like the laughing cow
laughing
cheese.
Cow
Yeah.
cheese. Yeah, that's right. This is one of those places, though, where you walk in and there's always a warm hello. They always seem to shut out when you come in. Hello, table 4. They just sort of direct you right away.
Yeah.
I like that. Gets right to the business right away. And it also has this gigantic, enormous menu. I'm holding up now if you're watching on 570news.com. A
lot of items.
There's a lot of items. I mean, they go in the must be 100 and more at least, maybe 200. Do you go for one particular dish? What's your sort of strategy?
Well, a couple things. There are two things I get. I like. I mean, there are probably many good things there. Their spring rolls are good. Their pho is good. The broth is good.
Yeah.
I won't have that before a concert because a big bowl of noodles,
and
soup noodles,
liquid too.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah. It makes you
it kind of weighs me down. And then there's number 452.
This is the Edwin
I'm
Oatwater
kind of
special.
obsessed with 452. I always have been. It says stir-fried beef or pork with lemongrass and hot pepper on vermicelli, meaning kind of
rice
cold,
vermicelli.
Yeah, cold noodles, and you kind of stir it up like a salad.
Yeah,
So
it is exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I like the sort of ritual. Well, I had a pho. And I had I think it was the beef tendon. Which
How
was
was
the first time. Well, it started to, it's very granular and very chewy, but that in the hot broth, I think the tendony part starts to sort of break down and soften, and that really adds a nice texture
broth,
to it. Yeah, and the broth is quite good. I agree with you on that. And I like the whole ritual of the squirt of lime, throwing in the mung bean sprouts,
right.
The sriracha sauce, which
Can we just talk about sriracha sauce, please?
We can talk about sriracha sauce.
I mean,
hey, Edwin,
I could devote a whole episode to sriracha sauce.
All right.
Like, if you don't have sriracha sauce in your kitchen, if
you don't have it in your life.
In your life, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Which hot sauce is it? It's the big plastic bottle with the rooster on the front and the green top. Yeah. And beware, there are false srirachas out there.
I bet. Yeah.
And it's spelled SRI RACHA, sriracha. I'm sure many of you know about it.
Yeah.
But it's
a classic sauce.
It's the greatest. Like, it just has a great tang and spice to it.
Balance.
Yeah.
Heat, but it's not just heat.
The tanginess is so good, and it's not made in Vietnam. It's Vietnamese sauce, but it's made in California.
Yeah.
Not far from where
so
in
you
Los
can,
Angeles.
You can go out your back door and get fresh produce, but also sriracha.
There's a phone number on the bottle. I've always wanted to call it and just tell them how great they are.
And see what happens when you call.
Yes. But you put it in the soup. You'll put it on pizza. You can put it on. I even put it on cottage cheese, which is pretty weird. But
Yeah.
I mean, I like other kinds of hot sauce, but I if I had to choose one,
that would be it.
Sriracha. Yeah.
I think I agree. It's a good sauce. It's a nice balance to it. We didn't have. There was one dish. We also the fresh shrimp rolls with the vermicelli noodles inside. And
were they fresh? Were they fresh? The shrimp rolls.
Yeah, the shrimp rolls
are good.
Fine. Yeah, those are nice. And you dipped them in a pretty good peanut sauce.
Yeah.
A man who likes peanut butter. Crushed up peanut on top. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah,
those are a classic sort of refreshing appetizer for me. I really like them at pho do bao. We didn't have good success with the sugarcane wrapped or the shrimp that was wrapped around sugarcane.
It looked like it was maybe out of a plastic bag of frozen shrimp on sugarcane.
It just had a really odd texture and flavor. Did you get any shrimp flavor out of it even?
It was kind of beyond. It was all the things I didn't like about shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it didn't taste. But maybe it might not be. It might be another palate that I haven't experienced. I might say that they were bad. But who knows? And don't forget the avocado milkshake.
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't get any shrimp flavor out of that thing at all. Yeah, the avocado shake. Now that was an interesting selection by you too. How come?
Because we were trying things, so I wanted to try it. I think I'd had a sip of it before. It's just an avocado kind of milkshake.
Yeah.
It's sweet, but with an avocado flavor, and it was really good.
It was.
It was very calming, actually.
Yeah, you said that it's
stomach.
sort of. I can see it as having a kind of tonic effect after eating some hotter food or heavier, spicier food, and that it would sort of gently settle in.
They have a lot of those nice frozen drinks. They have, of course, the bubble tea there, which is Taiwanese originally.
Yeah, it's bizarre
to
me.
And the little tapioca balls that you drink. And then a lot of good smoothies and milkshakes, and they do them pretty well. Mango would be a safe one, but don't be afraid of the avocado.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I was impressed with the avocado because it can sort of touch down on both the savory and sweet side of Canada, and it sort of settles in as both of those things nicely together. Have you ever had durian? It's
I think
that
so.
odd football
Yeah,
shape.
yeah.
And apparently they're very smelly, but when you cook them or when you use them in a shake, they're actually fairly tasty.
Yeah.
And they got some interesting flavors in that
Yeah.
restaurant. There's no doubt. Now, obviously, you're sort of pro thumbs up on the Feu de Beau
Very much so,
restaurant. Yeah. And I certainly think that it's a great addition to the ethnic food scene here in the Waterloo region. Now, it's located at, let me just get the menu back here. It's located at 301 King Street East in Kitchener. That's right at the cross, sort of at, Benton and sort of EB Street area, I guess. EB between EB
Yeah, like
and
I said,
Cedar,
right
I
across
think,
from the farmer's
right
market.
across from the farmer's market, that's right. 301 King Street East, the most famous Vietnamese noodle soup. I love that, with the smiling cow. So assessing food, atmosphere, service, and prices, dining out, restaurant reviews, and tasting notes on The Food Show are based on anonymous and unannounced visits to the establishments themselves, and the restaurants do not pay for any portion of the reviewers or Edwin's meal. So give it a go and see what you think. See if you agree with us or not. Now, we do have a winner for our tickets. It's Gary Hewitt. He has won the tickets for the KW Symphony, Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony's Baja Boulette. Edwin Outwater is the conductor. Well, we are at a stage now where we have one segment left. We do have to take more commercial breaks here. Don't go away. We're going to come back with more from Edwin Outwater. Thanks for listening for this segment. We'll see you soon. And this is 570 News.
Now back to the Food Show with Andrew Coppolino on 570 News.
And welcome back once again. Just a touch of rock lobster there for you, Edwin. But now we've got another musical selection. This is
It's by Raymond Scott.
Okay.
Maybe not appropriate for a food show, but dinner music for a pack of hungry cannibals.
I think it's entirely appropriate.
Yeah.
Let's bring it up a bit. And your tasting notes here with this piece of music?
Let's not discuss that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you just need a big boiling pot.
Yeah. This sort of quintessential cliche.
And then your favorite people.
Cartoon cliche.
His music was used in cartoons a lot.
It sounds like
not
that,
Warner Brothers, but the other ones. And
Okay.
Powerhouse. Actually, da da da, ba da 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 da. That's him.
Oh, okay.
And he became an electronic music pioneer. Really interesting cat.
That is cool.
Raymond Scott.
What year are we talking
Oh,
here?
back in the
40s?
40s, yeah. Yeah, very odd and wonderful, quirky musician.
Yeah,
Raymond
I can
Scott.
see a sort of a mechanistic kind of, here's the production line.
And he
of
really
stuff
got into
going
early synthesizers and electronic sounds. Yeah,
Cool.
it's
Well,
all on YouTube.
yeah, you can get it all on
Yeah.
YouTube. You know what I really enjoyed at the Symphony Center in the Square was the cartoons.
Oh,
section.
yeah.
That was just brilliant. My family gave that to me
Bugs Bunny.
as a birthday gift, and I just laughed the whole time. It was just a
Well, that music is incredible. Carl Stalling was the composer of the Warner Brothers cartoons. You know, the kind of the genius of those. Mel Blanc, who did all the voices pretty much for Warner Brothers, and then this
That's a
composer,
genius.
Carl Stalling, who really did these iconic hyperactive orchestrations that are very difficult actually for the orchestra.
Yeah.
And fun to play. So
And the conductor at that time, I can't remember his
George
name.
Dory.
Yeah. And they were talking about the timing of the music with the cartoon
Yeah.
and how difficult that was to get all of that,
Yeah.
because that's live. It's live music.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, just a brilliant piece of artistry, I guess, that is so great to have here in Waterloo.
Well, we
region,
try to
Kitchener
present like
Waterloo
a
Symphony.
whole. Yeah, orchestras are all over. I mean, there is, of course, the core music we play, Beethoven, and we played Mozart and Mahler and Brahms last night. But orchestras pop up all over your life. You may not even read movies and cartoons. And we like to, and for many people, that's a great way to kind of come to the orchestra for the first time and hear, the live sound, and then they get sucked into the whole wonderful world of orchestras. It's a pretty amazing thing to have an orchestra like this in our community.
Yeah, we're very, very lucky, and thank you for your contributions to it, too, making it even better. Edwin Outwater, of course, is the music director of the Kitchener Waterloo Symphony. He joins me in the studio today, and we've been going through a few songs that Edwin has familiarity with, no doubt. So it's great to get some background on some of the things we may have heard. Now, I understand you're a wine lover, so here's something new for you in the world of food and beverages: the corksicle.
Oh.
The question is, will it make wine buckets obsolete? The device, it's made of non-toxic gels enveloped in a BPA-free plastic. It's frozen, and then you insert it into the bottle of white wine, and it will chill the bottle in about 45 minutes. Or a red wine as well if you want it. But you freeze it, so then you put it right, and it goes right down into the bottle. And apparently it can chill it quicker and more safely than putting it in a freezer where you
really
forget about it and stuff.
It blows up,
yeah, the question I have about it, though, is displacement. Like, if you've got that much volume mass going into the bottle, does it not push the contents up so that the wine overflows? Do you know what I mean? You know,
well, it must be very thin.
They must,
yeah.
So,
not have a lot of volume.
Yeah, it's got to be thin. But, kind of an interesting little weird, just one of those weird things you see.
The freezers work for me, you know. I just have
Are you
to
a white
sure.
wine or a red wine drinker?
I love all wine. I think somehow the tannins of red wine, like if I can't have too much red wine, it doesn't agree with me as much. So
you'll have to have one of those avocado shakes afterwards to settle things.
But white, I love white. You know, in my travels, I've been so lucky to go to, except for France, you know, a lot of great wine. I spent a lot of time in Napa, obviously, and in New Zealand and Australia. I was in the Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale. This year, I spent a lot of time in Portugal. And went up the Douro River, where all the great port comes from, and also, of course, they have great non-sweet wines. Yeah. And probably the best wine deals in the world that I know.
I would agree. Yeah.
Quality versus, price. Portuguese wines are amazing.
Yeah,
of course,
they're completely underrated and unknown, I think.
Yeah. I just couldn't believe some of the things I was having there. So if you pay, 20 euros, you're getting an extraordinary wine, which is you can't even get a decent wine for 20 euros in the LCBO. But, but that's another subject.
That's true.
Well,
I don't necessarily want to.
We won't talk about it.
I don't necessarily want to end on a negative. But have there been, in your travels, and you've gone experimenting with food, have you ever been like horrified or grossly sort of shocked, I guess, by what you've been eating? Have you done sort of extreme eating in terms of in the Far East or Middle East or something?
But it hasn't horrified me. I mean, I guess I had a soup called hazma, which was a frog brain soup once.
Now that's exactly what I'm thinking about.
But that was okay.
That's not horrifying.
It was fine. It was fine. Kind of a mild taste. The thing, I just have certain things that freak me out, like gelatinous fat. I know that's a delicacy in a lot of Asian cuisines, but for me, I just can't do it. And so there are these fried pork skins, and they look really crispy on the outside, but all that's on the other side underneath is just a big layer of kind of chewy gelatinous fat. Yeah. And I once ate one of those, and it just didn't agree with me. But as far as adventure, I'm pretty good with stuff.
Yeah. Would you like to see more adventurous food here in Waterloo region? Or I think we need a little bit more.
I mean, I love, like I said, I love the basics. I love a beautiful, pork loin or a steak or a roast chicken. I think that's fine. But so I'm not always looking for adventure as a diner, but it's always fun to have adventures. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we're almost out of time, but I think we should let's just give us a little bit of background, maybe some foresight, I guess, on what's coming up, what's happening with the symphony and your role.
Yeah, we have Bashabulat this year, which is this next week, which is going to be amazing. We're really looking forward to Prokofiev's Fifth Symphony in the winter. A great Yuletide concert for the whole family coming up. Which is going to be lots of fun. It's one of our most popular concerts around the holidays where people come. There are it's a real community event, but very professionally done. And bell choirs, singers, great songs. It's a great thing to do with your family. So that's going to be coming up.
Lots of exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's people may not realize this, but we put on concerts basically every week in the region, and of all kinds. So there's really, if you haven't been to the orchestra, there's always something. Just have to go on our website, kwsymphony.ca.
Great website.
Just look at our calendar. Yeah. You'll probably find something that's interesting. And ticket prices are really, usually they start at about $19 a ticket. So it's not expensive to go to the symphony. It's
absolutely not.
We try to make it
whole family can go for $80.
Exactly. Yeah. And we try to make it really we want it to be a part of the community. And it really, I think what's really exciting in the last few years is it's really becoming something that people realize it's for everyone here who appreciates live music.
Well, I appreciate that you've come in and given up. I know you had a concert last night, and there's the sort of the late night and some free time taken up today by coming into the show. But thank you very much, Edwin
Coppolino, for
joining. It was great to talk to you about food, and I hope we can do it again. And I wish you all the best for a great season, and happy eating.
Thank you.
That's it for the show for this week, and thanks to Edwin Outwater. For more information about the symphony, you visit kwsymphony.ca. Visit 570 News for an archive of past shows, and follow the Food Show at twitter.com, 570 Food Show. You can read my column in the Kitchener Post each Friday. Join us next week for more on the Food Show. We're pulling out the knives for a bit of sharpening. Sharp My Knives will give us a demo. Remember, eat wisely and eat well. Thank you for joining us here at the Food Show, only on 570 News.